We've seen the Pacific Ocean quite a few times on this Best of the Most West trip, looking westward and seeing the vast emptiness of the ocean blue. Well, I'm saying that because we won't be returning to the Pacific coast as we know it anytime soon. Yeah. Or will we? Hello folks, as you can see, a bit of a different format. I gotta take a big bus and ride 2 hours just to get from Anchorage down to our next destination. Yeah, it's a lot colder already, you feel it, a lot rainier, we're a lot more close to the ocean now. More information, but until then, let's continue on this ride. Well, we have made it to Seward, Alaska. Essentially, this is where Alaska begins. The waters you see here, despite how blue and beautiful they are, contrasting with all the boats in the distance and of course the snow-peaked mountains blanketed with a layer of snow and ice, kind of like a marshmallow syrup on an ice cream sundae. This water will eventually lead us into a much larger body of water that we will see soon. Well, we have made it to the Kenai Peninsula, if any of you were curious as where we were. The Kenai Peninsula is an important peninsula. There are so many peninsulas and features of geography in Alaska, but the Kenai Peninsula might just be one of the most important, with a historical legacy and a geographic legacy. Because what we see in front of us is some of America's best geographic features. Just south of Anchorage, this peninsula takes dominion over the south central region of Alaska. What you'll see here are plenty of mountain ranges and valleys, big, large U-shaped valleys. Lots of coniferous trees and crystalline blue waters. This peninsula juts out from the mainland. Well, it is part of the mainland, but this is a small portion that juts out from the real interior of the state, which essentially protects it from all the hazardous weather conditions coming from the nearby Pacific Ocean. That's right, it's a lot colder here, despite the fact that we're a little bit more south in latitude. You'd think that, okay, we're a little closer, slightly closer to the equator. It's got to be a little bit warmer than Anchorage, but no, the ocean does a great job of moderating the warmth that one would find in the summer months. As a result, the bottom of this Kenai Peninsula, where it touches the coast, is always going to be around 5 to 10 degrees colder than the Anchorage area. Additionally, this area is going to be substantially more wet, rainy. You can see a cloud of mist up above. Just goes to show you that even if it's not raining right now. It's still gonna show the lingering effects of the humidity here. And it's not warm humidity, it's cold humidity. Now you'll see a lot of buildings, a lot of businesses and companies capitalizing on the fact that this area of Seward is probably the best entry point to witness the spectacular natural features. Additionally, lots of tour buses are driving people to and from Seward, because this is a very remote place in the state. Just like many places, if it's not Anchorage, you're going to be driving or flying or boating long distances. And I'm not the biggest fan of tour buses. I'd rather go on my own 2 feet or travel not at the mercy of any other company or any other people or whatever. But sometimes when it's the only practical option, you're left to take those tour buses here. That's kind of what I did. That's exactly what I did. Alright, so here's the deal, everyone. In a few minutes we are going to board a cruise ship. Not really, but it's a tour ship. A boat that will take us far down the seas into the great body of waters that are directly south of this Kenai Peninsula. Because it's what they call a weather day, there's a chance that the tour might be changed a little bit from its norm. The actual tour would be that we get to see some mighty fine glaciers, a prominent feature in this Kenai area. But I don't know for sure whether that's guaranteed. There's not 100% chance that we'll get to see those beautiful glaciers, but regardless of what the tour is going to be, we're going to be seeing some amazing sights of the Alaskan coastline. Because of the unpredictable nature of this tour, I don't know whether to categorize today's adventures in the realm of Seward, Alaska, or, if we get that chance to see those glaciers and the fjords up close, Kenai Fjords National Park. Now that would be something to take off another national park on the bucket list, but that's out of my control. So we'll just see what happens and we'll enjoy the sights we see, the adventures we go on. All right, time to get jam-packed like a can of sardines onto that boat. Your tail. Well, as you can see, we are back in Seward, Alaska, back onto the mainland. So like I feared, the wakes of the Pacific Ocean were way too strong for the boats to safely handle, or at least to handle a boatload of tourists. The tour was cut short from 6 hours to 4 hours, but maybe it was truly for the best. I took with me a souvenir. Do you guys know what this is? Yeah, this is what most tour boats offer for anybody who feels like the waves and the choppy nature of the water is just too much for their stomach to handle. Yeah, sometimes people just have to expel the bad vibes from their system. You know, I thought I was a strong, young, 21-year-old guy. I'm in the prime of my life, right? You know, I'm sitting with a bunch of these elderly couples and lethargic mothers with young children. Surely I can't be the one out of this group to get a little seasick. But I learned that I'm not invincible, and not once but a couple times did I use one of these. Not pleasant. Thank goodness the tour was cut short. Furthermore, what's more embarrassing is that I was probably the only one on that boat who actually had to use this. Everybody else seemed fine. Yeah, I was genuinely shocked. But enough of that gross conversation. I don't mean to expel foul words. I have already expelled enough today. Yeah, I'll never forget that boat ride. So how's that for a souvenir? Packed tightly in my bag. Of the day we visited Seward, Alaska, and saw some great stuff. How was that boat ride? We saw some amazing glacial formations. The southern part of Alaska's full of glacial features, and I'm glad we at least saw a little speck of it, even though we could have seen a lot more if the waves were less choppy. Fjords, we saw plenty of those. We were sailing through these narrow fjords. A fjord is just simply a narrow body of water that used to be a full-on glacier. Yeah, thousands and thousands of years ago, the Earth was significantly cooler on average than the Earth we see today. The climate was drastically different. Sea levels were a lot lower. Land masses were generally larger on average per continent because the more land was above the surface. But as the Earth got warmer and warmer and sea levels rose, these glaciers naturally started to melt and recede up north, and with that, the force of thousands of pounds of glacial ice carved narrow U-shaped valleys across areas in between great mountains. But because of the shortening of the otherwise longer boat tour, I have a few hours to kill. And what better way to kill a few hours than to walk towards the downtown of Seward. This is unplanned. Get excited, guys, because there is actually a city of Seward, Alaska. It's not just some podunk town. It's a city with its own downtown. Maybe not skyscraper level size of a city, but it's still substantial enough. Let's see what a tried and true Alaskan coastal city is like. When we were in Anchorage yesterday, did I make the mistake of saying the Iditarod Trail started in Anchorage? Well, it certainly passed through it, but I think that was a mistake I made.
Actually, I did not make a mistake. Ugh, there's no good way to edit this. So allow me to make this distinction. So yes, while the modern Iditarod sled dog race does start in Anchorage, the Iditarod National Historic Trail actually pays respect instead to an older supply route, consisting of a network of different trails used during the days of the Alaska Gold Rush. Dogsled was the most effective means of overland transport during wintertime, and Seward's coastal location became an optimal southern terminus for the route. So even though the modern race began in Anchorage out of logistical convenience, which roughly follows sections of the Iditarod Trail, Seward is the trail's traditional beginning.
Seward is the actual start of the Iditarod National Historic Trail. Why did it start here in Seward? Well, why did a lot start here in Seward? Seward's shores are the only ice-free shores and coastline in this part of Alaska. Now, in the Alaska Panhandle, yes, there's more temperate a climate, but up here, snow's gonna come, and it's gonna come hard. But around here in Seward, well, it's lucky enough to be ice-free for most of the winter. Thus, it made Seward, named after William Seward, the guy who bought and purchased Alaska, a lucrative place to set foot at the beginning. Historically, this was the gateway to Alaska. As far back in time as 1903, migrants from Seattle, Washington, had learned long about the prospects of gold in the interior of Alaska. And they thought by setting up a base of operations here in Seward, right at the banks of Resurrection Bay that we're looking at right now, this would make a great southern terminus for the proposed railroad that would cross through a majority of this state. Now, did this railroad cut through a majority of the state? No, this state is way too massive to build a railroad, especially when you're dealing with very inhospitable conditions. But it did reach through much of the state, from down here at the bottom of the Kenai Peninsula all the way up to Fairbanks, in the real heart of the interior. In front of us lies the ruins of what once was a dock that was laid out and stretched to the waters here. Now, most of this dock, except for the posts that lie here today, and a large part of Seward's historical buildings, were completely wiped off the land due to the unfortunate 1964 Good Friday earthquake and tsunami. But what we have here still persists, a small little town, maybe even a city. Seward really has the makings of a classic American frontier town. It's just thousands of miles removed from all the other places that you'd think of are frontier towns, but this was a frontier in itself. It was the last frontier, and just like a lot of other frontier towns, this town was established because of a resource underground, gold. What really stands this town apart, though, is the fact that Seward is right next door to some world-class nature. All over the country, locals will brag about the nature surrounding their little town. Oh, you go a mile out and you can find some great natural features. I'm sure people in Arizona will talk about the desert features. People in Colorado will talk about the Great Rocky Mountains. People in the beautiful Appalachian states will talk about the mountains there. And then anywhere along the coast, people will say, oh, you know, here in our beachside city, just take a stroll down and you'll find some great water activities. But the people here of Seward, Alaska, aren't afraid to compete with all of you other people who say, oh, our town has the best nature. This is spectacular. Fantastic, I mean that literally. This place truly screams alpine paradise, almost as if you're, you know, at the foothills of the Alps. Come on, we gotta end today over there. Take a look at these beautiful mountains. Stunning. It's the middle of June right now, and as high up as we are, I really don't expect much snow to be at the top of these mountains. But you do see these snow-capped peaks. It's incredible. Heck, this is not even the peak of these mountains. This is a large part of the bulk of these Alaskan mountains, blanketed with the white snow and ice. All right, we are as close as we can get to the mountains on the other side of this Resolution Bay. Lots of rocks, we see no sand, this is no beach, this is no place to put down your towel and enjoy the sun. Well, there's no sun here, it's completely overcast. But you guys get the picture. These beautiful mountains up ahead are really the embodiment of the Kenai Peninsula. Large bodies of earth towering above you, making you feel so humble as you, the individual, are just a mere few feet tall compared to these hundreds, if not thousands, of feet tall. So as we set foot along the remains of this historic dock of Seward, looking out into the Resolution Bay, we're reminded of the fragility of the human body, or at least I am. You know, these cold, miserable waters, especially out, cast into the open blue, not protected by any landmass, but just completely in the ocean, can be very, very unpredictable, choppy, which can truly set the strongest of able bodies into turbulence. Yeah, I'm still recovering from that little cruise journey we had, but it's all right. That's what life's all about. That's what adventuring here in the US is truly what we're here for. We're here for an adventure. We're not here for good times all the time. If everybody was so happy and jovial, there'd be nothing to live for. You wouldn't understand the contrast between great feelings and rather unpleasant feelings. So the unpleasant feelings truly make us appreciate the pleasant feelings of not feeling nauseous. But that's all right. We have a great time. If you enjoyed this day into the wild frontier of Alaska's maritime beauty, you're really gonna love what's in store for us here on the second to last frontier. We're going inland. No longer do we see the great waters that eventually flow into the Pacific. Sadly, we couldn't even see the Pacific, but that's okay. We had a great time. That's what matters. So stay tuned for the remaining travels we go on here in Alaska. It's getting cold and I think I got a bus to catch. 2 hours journey awaits us. Well, me. You guys get to set the video down, turn the video off, go do what you want. With a cup of hot cocoa in your hand, sitting by the fireplace while I endure the cold of Alaskan June. Yeah, it's pretty cold, but that's okay. So with an amazing view of our Alaskan paradise, hello bird! You seem like you're enjoying your time flying over this water. More travels to come. I will see you at the next location.